Interesting that they would say he did a good job when so many people watching that debate. It was undeniably really awkward to watch. Biden himself has admitted that it was a, quote, bad night. He struggled to think on his feet, unscripted. There's no doubt about that. It's left a lot of people wondering who is running the country at the moment. I mean, reports that a top specialist in Parkinson's disease has visited the White House 8 times in about 8 months, I think it is. The White House, though, says Biden has not been treated for the disease. First Lady Jill Biden has even snapped at reporters about these continuous questions here about his health. Let's take a listen to that.
Dr. Biden, do you have any message to House Democrats who are calling for your husband to drop out of the race? How are you feeling about the state of the race?
All right, ladies.
What are your thoughts on that, Mick?
She's coming under a great deal of scrutiny, many questions as to whether or not she's now sort of the man behind the curtain in the Oval Office. She was on stage immediately with her husband after the debate last week. Most of the nation saw that. What most of the nation did not see was a quick rally they went to afterwards. It was covered on some of the smaller networks here, where she essentially propped him up on stage and said, "You did such a great job. You knew all the answers to all the questions. Isn't he doing great? We need 4 more years." And she's coming under more and more scrutiny every single day as to whether or not she is the one who is refusing to tell Joe Biden how poorly he did in that debate and how much he is at risk. Certainly, it's a very difficult position for any family member to be in. Imagine the pressures being the First Lady of the United States and having to have those conversations. But all eyes have really been on Jill Biden in the last week as to what she is telling President Joe Biden, whether or not she is the reason that he's still in this race.
What are your thoughts on the reports about a Parkinson's disease specialist visiting the White House?
Yeah, that's fair. It's a good question. I don't worry about that one too much. I don't put much value in that. First of all, folks who are familiar with Parkinson's know that Joe Biden doesn't show many of the outward signs, at least, of Parkinson's. And more importantly, the White House medical office serves probably 500 people at any given time. So it wouldn't be unusual for other folks within the White House to possibly be receiving care for Parkinson's. So while it's certainly something that stands out because of the context in which it's happening, my mind as a former chief of staff doesn't immediately make a leap from that to Joe Biden has Parkinson's disease. There's just too many things in between those two steps.
And that's a really good point you make there. They could have been treating somebody else. I think what's happening here is the mystery surrounding Joe Biden and sort of the rumour mill is in overdrive when it comes to his health and fitness. So by hearing that a specialist had visited there, of course, understandably, people are jumping to conclusions perhaps. How is it that people in the US only have 2 options in Biden and Trump when at least 60% of Americans don't want to vote for either?
I'm not sure about that 60% number. Look, both of the parties had primaries. The Republicans had a little bit more robust primary than the Democrats did, but even the Democrats had other options. Every time folks ask me, how do we end up with candidates that nobody wants? I keep asking, how do you know nobody wants them? They went through these primary processes. They won those primaries. Donald Trump won the nomination for the Republicans. Joe Biden won the nomination from the Democrats. I think it's an interesting conversation to have from an academic standpoint as to what's happening in the nation, as to why Donald Trump is still popular, why Joe Biden is still popular. But this concept that we have these 2 candidates that nobody wants to vote for, I think is taken a little bit out of context. We had the debates. These are the candidates. Whether or not these remain the candidates, it remains to be seen. Joe Biden, I still don't think can survive this, Holly. I think that the pushback has been, this is not a social media uprising. This is the New York Times. This is sitting senators. This is people running for office. These are large donors in the Democrat Party telling him he needs to go. I've never seen anybody come under that type of pressure and withstand it.
Yes, and with, that sort of weakness within his own party, it really doesn't look good. And as you just mentioned there, it could be hard to come back from that.